screen. Okay. Yeah, it looks like my presentation up there. All right. Hello, I'm Dan Carpenter. Yeah, this is some preliminary work that uses ASP in the background. So definitely very related to our previous talk. But I am certainly someone with knowledge enough of ASP to use it, not enough to discuss it at a fundamental level or to redesign it. So maybe I'm not part of that conversation, unfortunately. But yeah, so this paper, this preliminary work, I worked on with Thomas Bacher, Henry Crane, and Chris Martins, all of us from North Carolina State University and in the Department of Computer Science. So we're interested in the casual creation of tile maps via authorable constraint-based generators. Okay, and I actually don't know how my thing is presenting because it's showing up differently elsewhere. Yeah, I'm not sure how to move to the next. Oh, wait, maybe this is it. Okay. For some reason, I guess I can't see. I guess I can't see what I'm presenting. Okay, I guess that works. Okay, so I apologize. I guess I need more monitors. Okay, so we are in the world of tile maps. And tile maps are, a very common kind of approach to building, scenes, game levels, game worlds out of smaller tile assets. It's pretty straightforward. It's also very powerful, though. It's been used in a lot of games. So it's been used in Zelda and Mario through the years. It's been used even in modern games like Stardew Valley. So it's really useful technique for building game environments. It's also really useful in tabletop role-playing scenarios. So that was our original focus, actually, for this work, to try to support dungeon masters in creating tile-based maps for players in a fairly straightforward, fairly simple and quick way. And specifically, these users are casual users, so they're not expert game level designers. They are just users who don't have maybe programming knowledge, even probably not deep logic knowledge, but they still want to make tile maps for maybe a game they're working on individually or for a tabletop role-playing campaign. So that is our target, casual users, and they have access to some tools already, and they generally fall into two types of categories. So there'll be tile map editors. So these are things like the tiled editor or this Tiamat tile mapper that they either provide a set of tiles for users or users can import their own tiles. And then they can kind of go and paint by square in the tiles. And maybe sometimes there's a little more intelligence to how tiles are arranged in the map. But really, it is up to the user to individually go in and hand author the entire map. And so they have to deal with every corner of the map, and they can't really offload any work to the system. On the other hand, there are map generators, which are very much the opposite. It's typically set up such that you can provide a set of input parameters, but a very limited set. And then you can say, hey, generate me some kind of map. And hopefully by just regenerating entire maps, eventually you find something you like, because that's really the way you can interact with that system, is just by regenerating over and over again. So what we wanted to try to make with this tool you can see here is something that's kind of in between. So it's something that provides a lot of control over the map. So as much control really as you want over the map you're generating, while also allowing you to collaborate with the generator, and in particular with the generator that you designed. So with a generative system that you just found on the internet, and it says it can generate maps and you can slightly modify how it does so, it has a lot of implicit biases. It has a lot of just the author's knowledge of whatever this generation task is baked into it. And so you can't really control it as much as you might want to. So if you can, hopefully in an approachable way, create your own generators to collaborate with, then that might be a more interesting or more productive scenario for users. So really quick, this work is related to a whole bunch of work in this community and the wider community around around digital entertainment. So first of all, tools for mixed initiative, tools for map and level generation in general certainly inspire this, like Tanagra's Sentient Sketchbook and the Evolutionary Dungeon Designer. Then, of course, being at Plie, domain-specific languages for content generation, like the grammatical item generation language, Scepter, as we had a little discussion about before, and Tracery. And Tracery especially being important because it was designed for casual users, so definitely took some inspiration from that. And then, so we originally, with this tool, wanted to support users really in creating maps, but over time we discovered that it was interesting to help them create these generative systems, really using this set of domain-specific rules. So other other work that has helped users create generative systems rather than just individual artifacts are things like Germinate, which helps users create entire games using like a visual kind of language, and then Imaginarium from Dr. Horswell, using natural language to describe entities to later generate for things like tabletop role-playing games. All right, so the tool we have is a Unity-based tool, and that allows it to be cross-platform between Windows, Mac, and mobile in the future. It also presents an opportunity maybe to tightly integrate with game design kind of workflows. So it has three main areas. So first of all, this interactive map taking up most of the space. So this is where a user will collaborate with the generator to create a map, and they can manually place tiles anywhere they want on the map. You can see that most of these tiles have this kind of unlocked symbol over them, and that indicates that the generator can totally overwrite those. It can erase those if it chooses, and users have the ability to go into each of these tiles and lock or unlock them. So they can say, hey, I like this thing I created, or I like this thing that the generator created. I want to keep it, and I want to regenerate the rest of it to see what the generator might come up with in the future. In the second area, this is the set of tiles that are available. Currently, we only have maybe 20 or so tiles that are really themed around building a fantasy city or town. But in theory, it's not so difficult to allow users to import their own tiles here. So that's something we want to look into in the future. And so you can write rules in number 3 that operate on tiles, or we also have the ability to assign tags or like meta labels to tiles. So maybe you want to say that all of the building like tiles are buildings, and then you can write rules that operate on the tags rather than having to write individual rules for each of the tiles. And then number 3 here, we have the rule creation interface. And I'll discuss that more now because that's really a big focus of this work. So the rule creation interface allows users to declare some properties that they want generated maps to have using a natural language-ish, block-based programming language-ish set of rule templates. So users can add rule templates to this set of rules, and they can fill out some input fields, and they can select from drop-downs to create rules. And then behind the scenes, we use a C# API that we wrote to convert the rule templates into answer set programming programs, so ANS Prolog programs. So it's on the user side, it's hopefully a pretty straightforward and simple interface that hides a lot of the complexity of these rules in the actual ASP program. The rules we have a pretty small set so far, and that was partially intentional. We want to really restrict what users have to learn how to use to make it hopefully accessible by a lot of people. But I think in the future we'll want to expand this to allow for more advanced users to build more. But we have this notion of proximity and adjacency on a map. So you can define relationships between different tiles and where they should appear in relation to each other. So should they be within the same general area? Should they be far apart? Should maybe houses always come in pairs wherever they show up on the map? So things like that. This connection, so similar to what Adam Smith was discussing, I think, in his earlier example. So given two types of tiles, is there a path between them? So this was inspired mostly by our desire to create cities with roads between each building. So you can say that I want to have a road between, all houses or all buildings using a tag. And then tile inclusion is a pretty simple rule. It just says, given the large set of tiles that you have access to, restrict it to make a more directed type of map. So maybe you don't want to have any random river or ocean tiles in the map. You just want to have a totally landed city. And then also you can include count rules, so global count rules. So I want to have X of a certain type of tile, or I want to have at most at least that number of tile. And then an on rule was devised to provide a little bit more control in the generator. So we wanted to be able to say that there were walls surrounding a city. So we had to come up with a way to say that for a given row or column, this is the set of tiles that are permissible there. So that's the on rule. Okay. And so the intended workflow is really pretty straightforward. You just create a set of rules, or you load a set of rules into the generator, and then you start creating some maps and inspect and refine the rule set as you go to create your own tile map generator. And then to create an individual tile map. So this is something maybe a dungeon master want to do beforehand in a campaign. They set up a generator for maybe making a certain type of city. And then when their players inevitably go off and do something unexpected, they can take a second during a live gameplay session and then create an individual tile map. So they load up a blank map. That's whatever size they need. They load in the generator they've made previously. They start generating. They start throwing down whatever tiles that they need in certain places, but generate around it. They maybe go through a few rounds of iteration, working with the generator, and then they end up with hopefully a map that has pretty precisely the things that they need out of a map for this scenario. And I will say that we haven't tested the tool yet because it's very preliminary, and we recognized plenty of things about the tool that we want to change before we get it in the hands of users. But yeah, this is how we think it should be used, I guess, and how we've used it so far. And then to again look at the usability of the tool. So we have thought about the tool, we've assessed it in a sense using some heuristic evaluation in terms of casual creator design patterns, and we think it does a pretty good job of addressing a lot of them. So it gives pretty instant feedback. So thus far, the generator has been really quick. It runs asynchronously, responding to any changes in the rules. So it's been pretty immediate. But I imagine that could change if maps got huge or rule sets got really complex, maybe. We provide a set of rule sets that allow users to jump right in and generate maps. So they don't really have a blank canvas. We definitely limit the set of actions. So compared to just making an ASP-based generator and then using just the 5 or 6 rules we have, certainly limited. You can shop for mutants by just regenerating parts of the map that you're not really happy with over and over again. You only modify the rules that really change the types of maps that are generated. But there are some more fundamental ASP rules under the hood that just define things like what it means for things to be adjacent, or what it means for a grid-based map of size, n by m to even exist. So that stuff is abstracted away and hidden. And then, as I mentioned, you can save rule sets to JSON, and you can load them up, or you could, if a bunch of people were using this tool, you could just pass it up to someone else and say, hey, like you think you need a ocean type city for your D&D campaign? Hey, just start with this, and you can generate based on this. All right, So given this is preliminary work, there are lots of interesting directions for future work. One of them is to maybe really redesign the entire rule creation interface to be more of a complete programming language. So to be based on Blockly. Hopefully, given Blockly's use in computing education, it's used by really young users, so middle grades, even younger. Hopefully, it'll still be accessible, but having things like variables and arithmetic would definitely give a lot of power to this tool. Another thing is providing some debugging support for the rules. So the rules are individually, they are pretty much guaranteed to be valid as long as they're filled out, you know. But taken all together, a set of rules might be contradictory. So maybe you say you want to have at least 2 houses, and then 20 rules later, you forgot about that, and you say I want to have exactly 0 houses. So things like this that contradict. Thus far, the tool will tell you, hey, something's wrong, but it doesn't give you localized feedback. So it'd be nice to have something more like that. So using a system like maybe Spock to do a kind of meta analysis of the rules themselves to provide that targeted support would be really interesting. Another thing would be to maybe infer constraints from examples. So this is possibly similar to something like wave function collapse. So, I mean, it is conceivable that we could give users the tool and just say, hey, create a little map, and then using wave function collapse, we generate more examples of it. But I feel like that doesn't exactly hit the design intent of the tool. So maybe there could be a sub part of the tool for just exploring, or maybe there are extensions to wave function collapse that would provide some of the more global constraints we're interested in rather than just local patterns, but definitely something to look into. And then personally, I'm really an AI and education researcher. So I'm interested in taking this tool that's hopefully usable by all kinds of users and getting it in the hands of middle school students for maybe building out educational content for games. So a game I'm working on right now is this tile-based environmental simulation game. So it seems like there are some natural overlaps between the tile map generation tool and this game. So getting students to use it as creators could be really interesting. All right, so yeah, I guess I can skip this slide because I feel like I've gone long enough. But yeah, that's what I have to share, and I'm open to any questions or just